Hello and welcome to Breaking Bread with Rivaaj Maharaj, where nothing is off the table. For today's episode, I wanted to talk about the special relationship between the United Kingdom and the United States of America and how this current Labour government under Keir Starmer has virtually ruined that relationship and pushed it to the point of non-existence. So without further ado, let's get into it. The United States and the United Kingdom have always prided themselves on having a special relationship between these two countries. After all, descendants of those from Great Britain or the United Kingdom set up shop in the United States, and after the American Revolution, and after kicking out the British, the Americans charted their own course. Now, America subsequently has grown into the superpower that it is. The British Empire had gone into decline. However, a special bond still existed between these two nations. Now, that special bond has never ever been under threat like it has under the current American administration and the current British government. They are at loggerheads on almost everything. We've got our impotent leader, Keir Starmer, who just does not have the ability to make a decision on anything. Be it a right decision or a wrong decision, he continuously flip-flops around everything. He's the greatest appeaser, trying to make everybody like him and, wanted to be liked by everybody, and just goes around messing things up and making a mockery of this great country. You've had, from the Greenland debacle, from the NATO issues with the United States, down from, the Ukraine issues. Now you see it with the Iran war. And, Donald Trump has come out at times with scathing remarks against Keir Starmer, but his last jibe, saying that he's really disappointed that Keir Starmer regarding the United States being denied access to British bases.
I spoke to President Donald Trump on the phone, and he told me that he's disappointed in Keir Starmer. After less than 48 hours of warfare, it looks like the US, according to Donald Trump, is 4 weeks ahead of schedule. So I decided to pick up the phone to him on Sunday night, just after he arrived in Washington from Palm Beach, Florida, where he had been for the weekend at his holiday home in Mar-a-Lago, and he answered the phone. The phone call was about 3 minutes long, and it began with a short introduction, and we got straight to it. So, what about Diego Garcia? When I asked him why the Prime Minister had taken so long to give him permission to use Diego Garcia, he said that he was very disappointed in Sir Keir, and that he didn't understand why, perhaps for the first time in the special relationship's history, Britain had said no. Until that moment, Sir Keir Starmer and Britain had refused America permission to use Diego Garcia, the UK-US military base, on the island of Chagos, to conduct strikes in Iran in fear as it breached international law. So I asked the President, now that Sir Keir had given him permission, how he felt and if he was annoyed about it. What he told me was that he and his top generals had been very disappointed in Sir Keir for taking so long to give them permission to carry out their operation from the base. I was quite surprised that he thought it was work and described it as being a deal that was essentially surrendering sovereignty to the Mauritians.
And then you had Senator Kennedy in the United States, who also came out with a scathing, assault on Keir Starmer.
But the UN said not only do you have to give it back, but you don't give it back to the people of the Chagos Islands. You give it back to another group of islands way down here called Mauritius. Mauritius used to own the Chagos Islands when France ceded them to Great Britain. They were run by Mauritius. But the people of the two island groups archipelagos, the people don't have any affinity. Now, what's Mauritius say? Of course we'll take it. But they want to start charging the United States and the UK £9 billion for a 99-year lease. So we can lease our own military base. All because the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom feels guilty because somebody, some tofu-eating wokarati at the United Nations says they're bad people, bad colonialists. Well, and the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, he's going along with it. But he says, I'm negotiating with Mauritius. And the leader of Mauritius just issued a press release, said, yeah, he's negotiating. He's increased the price. And he's shortened the leash. Now, you know who's loving all of this? China. Because China has a close relationship with Mauritius. And you know what? It's going to get a lot closer. This is insane. This is cell deep stupid. This is bone deep down to the marrow stupid. Because the United Nations wants the United Kingdom to feel guilty, they want to give our military base and their military base to Mauritius. Now, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom can stop this. And Marco Rubio, our new Secretary of State, is against it. And I haven't talked to him directly, but I think President Trump is against it. The United Kingdom is our friend. I went to school there for a while. I love them. And I want to see the Prime Minister do well. But he needs to put down the bong. He needs to put down the bong. This makes absolutely no sense. And it's going to be a big part of his legacy if he gives away this island and our military base to, in effect, what will eventually be China.
And the current British administration. It's, it's like we've become the joke of the world. You know, when anybody needs to take a pot shot at a government, we front and center. You know, we're right up there with the likes of places like Pakistan, Bangladesh. You know, when you've sunk to that level, it's, it's insane. A country that was once a great empire has been reduced to the same type of ridicule that you see the Pakistani establishment receiving on a daily basis. And it's not that people are taking advantage of it. It's we allow them to. We portray this image. You know, Keir Starmer giving a speech about why he is not allowing the Americans to use British bases. You can see he looks like a deer caught in the headlights. He looks absolutely pathetic. And then a couple of days later, he has to walk back and then say he's allowing them. And then a couple of days later, he's sending a ship to the, to the Mediterranean. And then a few days later, the ship is not going. So, the inability to just take a stand and stick by it is remarkable. And, I've got a few clips that I'm going to put up here. The one from the American congressperson Kennedy, it is absolutely insulting when somebody speaks about your country like that. It is absolutely degrading and insulting.
When it came time for us to intervene, he said, you cannot use any United Kingdom Air Force bases or military bases. None. Zero. Nada. He specifically said you can't use Diego Garcia. Now he says you can use our bases. Thank you very much. It's a little late. We don't need you. He also is trying to give President Trump advice about how to conduct the war. Sir Keir Starmer is the last person you would want to go to. If I'm wrong, I hope the Prime Minister will respond. But if I'm right, shame on him. I want to talk about our friends in the United Kingdom, and they are our friends. I love the people of the United Kingdom. I do. I went to school there for a while. They're wonderful people. They deserve better than the government that they're being given right now. I don't mean any disrespect in saying this, but I'm not a big fan of the Prime Minister, Prime Minister Starmer. The United Kingdom was founded by geniuses, but at the moment it's being run by idiots. Now, once the war started going the way of people who believe in freedom, Prime Minister Starmer changed his mind. Now he says you can use our bases. Thank you very much, it's a little late. We don't need you. He also is trying to give President Trump advice about how to conduct the war. That's a little bit like seeking the advice of a nun about sex. Sir Keir Starmer is the last person you would want to go to advise you about how to have a military confrontation. He's the kind of guy that he'll want to quote, if you're in the middle of a bar fight, he'll want to stop and quote Socrates. That's what this is, a bar fight. And so I decided after watching this circus without a tent, this goat rodeo that the Prime Minister has thrust upon the world. I said, let me take a look at what the Prime Minister's plans are in terms of defense. Because if you remember, about a year ago, January, the Prime Minister produced this report. That's all it was a report, but he called it a Root and Branch Strategic Defense Review. And its purpose was to settle the United Kingdom's military path for years to come. It was ready not this past January, but January before. He didn't produce it until this past summer. And the Prime Minister makes a big deal in his report. He says, we've changed our ways. We've been born again. We're now going to spend 2.6% of our GDP on defense by 2027. And I'm thinking, good for you. It's about time. And he said this is going to be in line with all of our NATO allies, 2.6% of our GDP on defense by 2027. And he said, and by God, by 2035, we're going to be spending 3.5%. And I'm thinking, man, that's great. And then I read the report. The cash is backloaded. He didn't bother to tell the people of the United Kingdom or NATO or the president. The cash is backloaded. He's not going to even start spending the money, the real money, until the 2030s. That's 4 years from now. He's going to make it somebody else's problem. I can assure you the Prime Minister will not be the Prime Minister in 2030 and beyond. Talk about sleight of hand. And if you run the numbers, there is a great deal of inflation in defense production because so many countries now are starting to actually spend more money on defense, not promising to do so by the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. So you have to factor in inflation. And under the Prime Minister's plan to not even start spending the real money until 2030, the defense inflation is going to eat away at the amount of money that he has promised to spend. And if you factor in reasonable defense production, the numbers come out to him actually spending 24 billion pounds, $32 billion less than he promised. You think he couldn't figure that out? His numbers guys knew all about it. This is nothing but sleight of hand. In fact, one commentator in the United Kingdom has said it's worse. According to his computations, there's going to be a $28 billion gap over 4 years. Over 4 years. Now, the United Kingdom has also promised to work with us in Australia on building in Australia a new attack submarine. Is the Prime Minister going to wait until 2030 to do that? We can't wait till 2030. Now, look, these are the facts. The United Kingdom has about 140,000 soldiers, members of the military, and God bless every one of them. God bless every one of them. They are down 20% since 2012 and declining. To give you a frame of reference, the United States has 2.1 million members of the military. They have 140,000. 2.8 million if you include civilian support staff for our military. So when we first heard that the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom was going to start spending 2.6% up to 3.5% of GDP on defense, of course we got excited. It's about time that the people in Europe embraced adulthood and stopped sending us the bill for their defense. So we were excited. I was excited. I was ready to come down here and congratulate the Prime Minister. And then I read the fine print. Sleight of hand. It's all sleight of hand. Now, if I'm wrong, I hope the Prime Minister will respond. But if I'm right, shame on him. Shame on him for looking the good people of the United Kingdom in the eye and the good people of the world in the eye and lying.
You know, Keir Starmer should just do the United Kingdom a favor and resign. Find somebody more competent to lead our government, because the man is a joke. He is an absolute joke. You know, he and Zelensky, between him, Zelensky, and Shahbaz Sharif, and add Asim Munir to that, they're all fighting for the least competent person to head a regime. And it's such a tight race between these four morons. It's not even funny. I just don't understand how, as a great nation that we once were, we've gotten to this point. I hope the future holds something better for us, because if we continue at this pace, I don't know where we're going to end up. I want to thank you for spending time with us, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, as it helps us with the algorithm and it helps our channel to grow.